Oh, I love you. Come on, tell everybody. I love you.
Both of you in here.
I love you. Sing, Gizmo, sing. He loves you. Good
At just
boy,
4 pounds
Gizzy.
and less than half a feet tall, Gizmo is a godsend, especially if you're elderly, alone, or sick. That's because he is one of hundreds of therapy dogs that volunteer with their owners with an organization known as Share a Pet.
Each volunteer can visit at least about 30 or 40 individuals a week. So if we have 400 volunteers, that's 16,000 visits that we are providing each week, which is a lot of visits, a lot of opportunities to exchange that love.
President Dr. Bindu Mai says it was the brainchild of her husband Sachin who put this grassroots organization into motion.
Initially, it was just the two of them, just Sachin and our dog Tenzin, and they would visit as many facilities as they could because they realized there were people in facilities who weren't getting any visitors. Even if they had families here, for some reason the family members were not able to come visit with them. And so he and Tenzin, our dog, would start visiting these facilities, and he felt like all of a sudden he had all of these grandparents. And the press then got a hold of him in April 2005. They found out that he was making, I think, 6 or 7 or 8 visits a week to places all over South Florida. And they interviewed him, and they had an article in the Sun Sentinel about him. And that attracted a lot of attention, and then people wanted to join the organization. So he incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit. And since that article came out, we've had over 1,000 people join the organization so they could start doing this with their therapy dog. And it's been very fulfilling. It's actually a win-win for everyone, not just for the volunteer who's doing something productive for the community, but also for the dog, because as you saw, they get so much attention, but also for the people we visit, and also for the families, you know, because I'm sure no one feels good about leaving their parents or their grandparents in a facility, and sometimes for their sake, for their safety or their health, you know, they are placed in these institutions. And so our volunteers and our dogs are trained to give them that love, which all of a sudden they lack, you know, which they should be getting from their family members. So we provide them with that.
Although pet therapy may not be widespread, there is research that proves it does have positive effects on patients.
Actually, there's a lot of research on pet therapy that measures the impact, the psychosocial impact, also the physiological benefits that these pet visits make on not just our elderly, but also on patients, on psychiatric patients. So there is a lot of research that shows that these visits are beneficial to the people we visit, depending on, for instance, people with cardiovascular conditions. It immediately brings their stress level down. They have better prognosis if they're a dog owner themselves. They have better prognosis if they're a dog owner, which means they walk their dog and they're interacting with the dog. There's a give and take of love. So yes, there is a lot of benefit, and scientifically it's also been shown.
Joan Partica, whose dog Bernie was Share a Pet's second volunteer dog, says the reason why she started doing this was personal.
My own mother was in a nursing home for 14 years, and I went to visit her so often with the dog to visit her that I just thought everybody brought their dogs to the nursing home. And after she passed away, they said, well, are you going to keep bringing the dog to the nursing home? And I thought, oh no, I've been here too long now, maybe another one. And I came down to Florida and met Sachin, and we were talking about setting up. He was already working with his dog at a facility, and we were talking about starting a new nursing home. I was still working and went back home, and when I came back down, we finished it up and started it. He did all the work. I only bounced an idea off of once in a while, and Bernie was the second member. He was the second member with Sachin for Share a Pet. And we went around and interviewed nursing homes and asked them if they wanted people in their facility, and it just grassroots started and became a big outfit now. It's an organization that's nationwide, but you know, when it started, there were just 4 or 5 of us, and then 10 of us, and 20 of us, and now hundreds of us. Just grew.
This is Nina. She's a French poodle, miniature, and she was born in Mexico, which is where I met her and fell in love with her, so I brought her back with me. Nina is kind of a natural for this kind of work, I think. She's very loving and caring. And so it was suggested that we might want to be involved in it. So I just pursued it, and here we are.
That was months ago, and since then, Ted and Nina have been making the rounds, doing what they can to help bring some comfort to anyone who may need it.
For those people who are either in a nursing home or have people that they know are in a hospital or a nursing home and could use a dog visiting with them, that they should reach out and try to have somebody come and visit, because there are people that are doing this, and everybody benefits from it. The dog benefits because she gets lots of love. The trainer gets an appreciation of what people are going through, and of course the patient is always the benefit of it. And I've seen some real miracles take place with a dog.
Bernie works 3 regular days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then he works in New York State. I'm the director in New York State, and we work almost every day up there somewhere. We work nursing homes, and we do a couple of camps in the summer, and we do a lot of orientations and training. And because it's so small up there, I do I do the orientations, and then I do the testing, and we do the training in the facilities and whatever. So he works almost full time up there when we're home in the summer. But down here, really 3 days a week.
Unlike people with whom our interactions may be quite complex and unpredictable, animals, on the other hand, provide a constant source of comfort and focus for attention.
He loves it. He loves it. The second, you say, you want to go to work? Whew. You want to go to work? You bet. He says, oh, I'm ready. He can't wait to go to work. Who doesn't want a job where you get there and everybody loves you? That's the best job, huh? Yeah, he really does. You pull out the vest or you just pick up the scarf and he is at the door and ready to go. He can't wait.
It may not seem like much, but being able to pet and nurture a dog for a little bit goes a long way. All of these volunteers have seen proof of it.
I was talking to somebody about that today, and last week we were at the hospital, and one of the doctors came up to me, one of the interns, I think. He came up and he sat down and he said, do you mind if I hug the dog, or I pet the dog? I said, no. He's wondering what took you so long. And he got down on the floor and he hugged the dog and he just stayed there. I thought, okay, enough already. And he stayed there for a long time, hugged the dog, and he said, I've been working for 30 hours. He said, and this is the best thing that's happened to me all day. I mean, the nurses love him, the kids love him. He's really, and he's like intuitive about who, he stands at the door, he waits to go into the room. He really sort of knows who he should go see and who's afraid of him. And I don't do anything but carry the leash around. I mean, he really does it all.
Well, we had one occasion where there was a gentleman that was totally non-communicating and could not move his arms or legs. And I just felt that Nina could benefit, so I put her in his lap, and he started moving his arm and trying to pet her. And several weeks after that time, I found that he was in rehab and was getting a lot of attention and really improving a great deal. So I think that this was kind of the trigger that got him to, rehabilitate.
I meet a lot of the volunteers and I see how wonderful they are and how, in spite of the busyness in their lives, they make time to do this. They make time to go regularly, because one thing Sachin, my husband, found was it's the regularity of the visits that really makes an impact, because our residents, our elderly that we visit, are already talking about the next visit. So we become that one constant in their life anymore. Every week we visit with them. So not only have I come across some amazing volunteers, but I've seen some amazing miracles. I don't know if you heard of our Christmas story of 2005, our Christmas miracle. where at that time my husband and our dog had been visiting this lady. She'd been in the nursing home for 3 years, and he'd been visiting her for 2 years already. And Christmas of 2005, she said, "I'm going to steal your dog." And my husband said, "Well, you can, but you know you'll have to feed him, you'll have to take him for a walk, so why don't we start by you walking him today?" And she said, "Can I?" And she didn't know. She didn't know if she could get out of bed because she hadn't been out of bed for 3 years, because she felt that was the one thing she could choose. You know, she didn't want to be there, but she had to be there. So she chose to be as uncooperative as possible, because that she wanted to make some choice, and that was her choice. She wasn't going to get out of bed. And so from somehow miraculously, because on Christmas Day they have kind of a skeleton staff, because people want to be with their families. So someone found a double wide wheelchair for her, someone found a Hoyer lift to get her out of bed. She was a little big, and they put her in the wheelchair, and my husband wheeled her out. And that was the Christmas miracle. It's the first time in 3 years she got out of bed so she could walk our dog. And she said she felt like she was getting out of prison. You know, she hadn't felt the sun on her for that long. And to have the ability to make that impact is very humbling, you know, because you know that it's you and your dog that walks in that door and makes that difference. And that is huge. It's just, you're making a difference in someone's life, and many of our volunteers do that.